Hey, what's up guys, this is Liam or Weagle on your Overwatch, back with a new video. Today we're going to be talking about Reaper. The change that he got made a big difference to us edgelords out there, and we're going to be talking about why he's so good, where he's so good, and also where you need to be careful when using him, because there's some situations where he can still struggle, and we always advocated for the fact that he was pretty good anyway. With this change, we weren't sure if it would make a big difference, but it does in many ways, and it even makes a difference in some places where initially on the face of things it seemed like it was a bit of a nerf. So today we're going to talk about all of them things. You guys as always can let us know, are you an edgelord? Do you like to play Reaper? And what do you like about this change? So now that he's actually taking 20% of total damage he does for himself now, instead of getting his orbs after he kills people, things have changed in a big way. Right now he's a way more defined hero. This could be more to do with the fact that Roadhog has been nerfed in a big way, so him getting a hook on a tank and trying to melt it isn't so powerful anymore. So Reaper's actual job of tank busting is super strong. He can just take on any tank in a 1v1. For example, if a Winston's shooting you in the face and you're shooting the Winston in the face, it's going to take a very long time for the Winston to melt through you because you're simply healing too much off of him. 20% when you're shooting a tank in the face with Reaper is an outrageous amount of healing that you get, and his sustain in a fight versus tanks is just so much better than it used to be. Initially, yeah, he was good at melting the tanks, but he didn't have that sustain. He would be shooting at things and never getting that health until something died. But now he gets that guaranteed health, making him in the fight last so much longer and making it easier for him to simply just duel a tank. He barely even has to think about it now. Is really, really strong in that way. Now, D.Va's defense matrix is currently marked as the best ability in the game by the pros, and even though it can completely shut down one damage source, if actually in a 1v1 with Reaper now, she no longer hard counters him, because before she could bait out some damage, then do some damage to him, and then put up a defense matrix again and win that duel, because Reaper would never get that healing until the end of the fight if he managed to kill her. Well, now he gets that healing constantly during the fight, so no matter how much she drops her defense matrix and tries to bait it out, in that 1v1, she's nowhere near as good as she used to be. In fact, it's more in Reaper's favor. Of course, defense matrix is still the best ability in the game, and it still does shut down that one damage source, but in a 1v1 situation, she's not cutting it versus Reaper. If you actually look at the amount of healing he now gets from a tank, initially it was only 50 at the end of the fight. Well, now, if you do the amount of damage like a Winston has, you're going to be getting 120 health, I think it is, back from a Winston rather than 50, and you get it throughout the fight, and if the Winston's being healed, it's even more than that, so it's crazy. So the next thing, of course, is the ultimate. The ultimate is so much better as well, because you can just heal yourself indefinitely, really, when you're in your ultimate. Now, of course, if they have crowd control, Reaper will still suffer in his ultimate, same as most of the DPS ultimates. If you get hooked or stunned, or defense matrix is up, of course, you don't get that healing when you're actually doing the ultimate, so you don't get that health back and you will die quickly. But if you can time it right now, it's so much better. If you're ulting in amongst 3 people, you're recovering nearly 100 healing per second, which is crazy. Never going to really damage through that, and it's so good now. And if you get any of them big Reaper wipes, there's no way that they're going to be able to touch you. Now, one place we initially argued Reaper would be worse is actually against some of the squishier targets, because at the end of a fight before, when they would drop an orb, you would gain 50 of that health back, but now you only gain 40 from most of the squishies, or even less if it's someone like Tracer. But it hasn't actually worked out that way, because if you're in a fight now, the same as with the tanks, even though it's a little bit harder on the squishies, that healing that you get during the fight might actually be the difference to keep yourself alive and win it. Reaper's not necessarily great at a lot of the squishies in the duels because they're way harder to hit than the tanks and the spread's harder to hit. I mean, he can still delete things, right? That's one thing he was always good at. So on top of all these other things, he can still do that instant damage. I think he can one-shot all of the squishies in the game, if I'm not mistaken. And you can just keep outputting that damage you always could, but now you also get some healing for it. So that extra 15 healing you get from fighting a Tracer might be enough to win out that duel there, and winning out that duel there now might win out the entire fight. So he's just so much better in just about every single way right now, and in a much bigger way, and we admit it, than what we thought. We like to put out these meta predictions and things, and we're usually fairly accurate, but with Reaper, after playing him recently more and more and seeing him played in the right context, which we'll get onto in a minute because he's not always a great pick, it is becoming obvious that this buff has been quite a significant one, especially versus tanks. So where do you need to be careful with Reaper? Well, if the enemy team have Farah and Mercy, which we know we're seeing a lot of course you're not going to get instant value out of Reaper. It depends on the rest of your team comp, of course. If the enemy team don't have many tanks too, another place you're going to struggle is trying to delete things, keep that healing and keep the sustain up, because now his job is to be in the fight as a tank buster. Before, his job would be to kind of hide and flank, pounce something, do some damage, get a kill, get your health back from the orbs, and then get back to your team with Wraith form. Well, now it isn't about that. It's more about being in the fight, in the front of the team comp with your tanks, doing all the damage as quickly as you possibly can and sustaining from there. So in any context where that is possible, is really good. But if there's loads of flankers around the map, playing this lurk and pounce style isn't really where Reaper's going to see as much love, I don't think. But when it comes to fighting a tank and then fighting his DPS when the tanks are gone, he's really good right now. I mean, a Reaper versus a soldier, for example, Reaper is just going to eat him up. He always did. But now when the soldier's sitting in his health pack when he's trying to shoot the Reaper, well, the Reaper's also getting his health back as well. So you're pretty much eating his health back effectively as long as you hit your shot. So he's good in so many different ways. Another thing that's just a little cheeky that I didn't know until recently is that Wraith form actually also stops anti-nade. So if you get anti-naded, you can actually just Wraith form and then start shooting tanks in the face again. It's nearly impossible to lose a duel with a tank now, guys, and it's easier to win duels with everything else. This makes a big difference to Reaper. It makes a big difference to him in the meta. He can be picked nearly all the time now. Just don't take him when they don't have many tanks because it's harder to stay alive, and of course with Farah Mercy. All of these things we suggest always come with a pinch of salt, guys, because context is the most complicated thing in Overwatch. Reaper could be top of the meta right now, but if you're playing in a game where everything counters Reaper, of course you don't pick him. But definitely a pick you should consider, especially when the Winston's giving you trouble, and he's definitely not as bad against D.Va as he once was, and his ultimate is nearly as good as it ever was, just not quite as good as the Nano meta. Oh, by the way, Nanoed Reaper cannot die now when he's using Beyblade. It's absolutely insane. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Be sure to check out our Twitter and our Discord where you guys can find the Reaper main of your dreams. Be sure to hit that bell icon so you guys get notified when our videos go live. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people.